Hey friend, welcome back to my kitchen. If you are new, my name is Becky and this is Acre Homestead, and I am so glad to be here with you in the kitchen right now. That means baby A has arrived. I'm healthy, he's healthy, and we are in a good place. If you watched the birth vlog, it was quite a journey to get where we are today. And I am so grateful to be feeling probably about 95% back to my normal self. So it's a great day today. Josh and I have a really good system for feeding baby A at night. So we're each getting about 6 hours of sleep. So we are feeling good. Last night was a little bit hectic. We lost power for about 3 hours. So Josh had to get up in the middle of the night and start a fire. But as of now, we are all good. We are going to be doing some holiday baking today. The first thing I want to do is actually get some eggnog going, because I want to bring eggnog to some Christmas parties we're going to with some family. And I want to have some eggnog in my coffee this morning. I want to make an eggnog latte. So we're going to get going with the eggnog first. We then are going to be making a family favorite dessert. That is a dessert from Josh's side of the family, and it is called bonnet. It is a Dutch pastry that is something that Josh's family has on his side of the family all the time. Tomorrow we are celebrating Christmas with Josh's dad, and Ruth, I've talked about her recipes, is Josh's dad's grandma, and she's the one that usually makes bonnet, but she doesn't make bonnet anymore, and I thought it would be nice if we could have some bonnet tomorrow. So I'm going to make her recipe for her. We need some egg whites in order to make the bonnet, so it's perfect that we're going to start off by separating some egg yolks and egg whites for our eggnog. So I'm going to double the eggnog recipe so that we have enough for putting in my coffee in the mornings as a coffee creamer, and then I have enough to bring to 2 different family gatherings we're going to over the next couple days. So that means I need to separate 12 eggs. We also are going to make some ginger chocolate chip cookies and maybe a couple other Christmas candies. I'm listening to you. I hear you. You're telling me go slow, be gentle. And I had Josh buy all the things for me to be able to make all the recipes, but I have cut it way back, and we're just going to see how this day unfolds. We only need 2 egg whites for the bonnet, so I'm putting the rest of the egg whites in here, and I probably will make a breakfast casserole using these egg whites or something. You can freeze egg whites, they freeze really well too, so we'll just have to figure out what we're going to do with those, because I'm not going to let those go to waste. 4, 6, 8, we need 12. So the next 2 egg whites I'm going to keep in this bowl because I know that we need this for the bonnet recipes. Let me clean up all this mess. We also are going to do a little bit of Christmas shopping in the downstairs pantry. I have been working on accumulating all sorts of homemade goodies throughout this whole summer, spring, summer, and all the things. So we get to assemble some of those Christmas gifts today. So we have all of our components, or the egg components I should say, for the eggnog and the starting of the bonnet. So I'm going to get these egg whites in the fridge. These eggshells are going to the chickens. They need it. We have a snow advisory right now. It's actually freezing rain out there right now. So hopefully it lets up just a little bit before Christmas tomorrow. All right, let's do the next step for the eggnog. We need to mix in, I've got my recipes here. These recipes will all be linked down in the description box. My measuring spoons are no longer in my containers, which is a little disappointing. I'm going to have to fix that. So we have 12 egg yolks here. So I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. When you make eggnog, you can adjust the sugar level. It's more to taste. This is not the sweetest eggnog in the world. Now what you want to do is mix the sugar and those egg yolks together until really well combined. This will help prevent scrambling the eggs when we go to cook the eggnog on the stove. It kind of gets silky and smooth. You want to mix it until it lightens in color just a little bit. I'm gonna get the rest of the components out for the eggnog. We have cinnamon, vanilla, a nutmeg, and I need to get a big pot. I'm doubling the recipe, so we need 8 cups of milk. The recipe I'm using calls for milk and cream. I only have frozen cream in the house right now, and you can make it with just milk. It's gonna be a little less creamy, and that's totally fine. It just won't be quite as rich. You can kind of, when it comes to eggnog, adjust the cream to milk ratio as you want. I'm gonna add this entire ½ gallon because that is 8 cups. This was frozen. I actually took this milk out of the freezer 2 days ago, and it just thawed in the fridge. I have turned the stove on kind of like a medium, and I like to add my cinnamon and nutmeg right away to it, just so that while it's heating, it can continue to infuse the flavor of it. I'm gonna add probably over 3/4 of this whole nutmeg. Uh-oh, we dropped that in there. That's okay. I am gonna strain this, so that's okay, that whole nutmeg dropped in there. Now we're gonna add our cinnamon. I'm gonna do a nice big heaping tablespoon. This might seem a little bit odd, but we are gonna do a good pinch, maybe 2 pinches of salt, and I'm gonna whisk that together. I like to strain my nutmeg out, or my nutmeg, I am gonna strain the nutmeg out, but I like to strain my eggnog after I add the eggs and we cook the eggnog so that it's the smoothest consistency possible. So I probably go a little bit heavier than the recipe calls for with the spices, because I know the majority of those spices are going to be strained out. We're gonna heat this milk spice mixture until it's about 160 degrees. I don't have an instant ring thermometer, so I just kind of do it by sight. But what that does is it's going to pasteurize these eggs. You do want to make sure that you do not boil the milk, because then the milk could curdle on you, and you don't need the milk that hot in order to pasteurize the eggs. Now these are store-bought eggs because my chickens are not laying right now. They are still sadly molting, and it is extremely cold out there right now. It's with the wind chill, it feels like it's -1 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really, really cold. So we're just gonna let this heat up. While our milk mixture is heating up, I just got a text that the person that was going to deliver dinner to us tonight is not going to because of the icy storm out there, and I 100% understand. So I just ran into the freezer and I grabbed some sweet and sour meatballs so that these can just thaw on the counter. This is going to be such an easy dinner. And then I got 2 packages of green beans. I'll cook these on the stove tonight, and I'll cook up some rice. So I already have dinner taken care of in about 2 minutes. It took me to get this out of the freezer. So we're gonna let that thaw while we enjoy cooking treats in the kitchen, and we don't have to really worry about dinner at all. Because that milk mixture, I want to heat it really low and slow. It's gonna take a few minutes. I don't want to just stand there and wait for a pot to boil, because you know that never, well, it's not boiling, but for a pot to warm up, it's never gonna happen. So I'm gonna get going on the pastry part of the bonnet. So bonnet, like I said, it's a Dutch pastry. Josh's dad and mom's side both are Dutch, and they both grew up eating this dessert, and I had never eaten it before till I met Josh. I first didn't like it because it has almond paste in it, and I had never really eaten anything with almond paste, and I don't like the taste of maraschino cherries, which that's the almond extract flavor is maraschino cherries. So I didn't like this dessert at first at all. But I have been with Josh now, I think we're going on our 10th or 11th Christmas, and I absolutely have fallen in love with this dessert. I have made it one time with my mother-in-law, I think that was 2 years ago, and I called her this morning. I have Josh's grandma's recipe, I have her recipe. She is actually making it right now at the same time, which is kind of funny. So there's 3 components to this, because I went to the store, and you need almond paste to make the filling for the bonnet. So it's a pastry that you roll an almond paste filling mixture in. It was almost $9 to buy a 16-ounce tub of almond paste at the store, and I needed 2 tubs, so I was gonna spend almost $17 to buy 2 tubs of almond paste. I have a jar of almond flour I need to use up, so for pennies on the dollar, basically free because I've had that for a long time and I need to use it, we are gonna make this almond paste from scratch. So we need to make the almond paste, and then we make the almond filling using the almond paste, and then we make the pastry. But we're gonna make the pastry first because that needs to chill for an hour. So to make the almond pastry, we're gonna do it in the food processor, and we can make everything in the food processor. So we only have to dirty this one dish. This is basically a pie pastry. So we're gonna start with 4 cups of flour. This makes 8 logs of bonnet. We need 2 cups of butter. This is cold butter. It's not frozen. It probably should be frozen, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use this butter. I'm gonna cut it just a little bit so that it's a little bit smaller going into the food processor. This butter I bought on sale yesterday at the store for $2.50 a pound, which in my area, that is a screaming good deal. Right now, butter in my area is about $5.50 a pound, but because of the holiday, it went on sale. So I purchased 8 pounds of butter. You all know I like to buy my butter through Acre, but with how expensive food prices and everything is getting, I am not one to pass up a deal like that. And I will go ahead and buy some butter on sale to stock my freezer with a really good price on butter. You all know I do like to buy organic as much as possible, but I also have to work within a reasonable food budget, and we just do the best we can. I never want you to think that every single thing around here is organic or pasture raised or homegrown. We all just do our best within the resources we have. And one of my favorite things to do is when I can find good deals, stock up on them. So when I find things on sale at Acre that is organic, you all see I buy it in bulk so that I have that best price. When I find milk on sale, I'll buy it in bulk and put it in my freezer. But not everything can be organic or perfect, whatever that means. There's nothing that is perfect. So we're gonna get this butter in here and we are gonna pulse this. Wow, I am putting this food processor to the max. I don't know if this is gonna be able to pulse all this, but we will try. This is my new food processor, so I have to remember how to use it. I did just put salt in there. Did I tell you I put salt in there? I don't know if this is gonna pulse all this. Oh, there we go. All right, let's see how well we did on that. We do want some chunks of butter. I don't want this as chunky as when I make my actual pie pastry, so that looks really good. I don't want pea size. I want them more like breadcrumbs, so that's perfect. I have some very ice cold water that just came straight out of my well. Because it's so cold outside, this water is icy cold. We need about 1 cup of water. So I have 2 cups here, but we're not going to use all of it. We're just going to mix this in with a fork until it forms a ball. And we're just going to use as little water as possible, but as much as water as we need for this to come together. When you're making pastry, you want to work as little as water in as possible. This top part of this dough has a nice bit of moisture in it, but I don't want to sit here and knead this ball with this dry powdery stuff because I don't want to work this very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ball that's nice and moisturized, put it over here, and then I'm just going to add water to this dry bit so that I'm adding as little water as possible in here. And I need to check on that eggnog, so as soon as I get this moisture level correct, we're gonna do a little check on the eggnog. Let's do a test. So that's gonna come together in a ball. So I'm gonna get all of this onto our piece of saran wrap here. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is press this into a ball. And what my mother-in-law said to do, one of her main advices, I'm not kneading this, I'm just pressing it into a ball, is to now at this point divide this into 8 equal pieces, because this is how many pieces of bonquette we're gonna make. Bonquette is in their log shape, so we're gonna cut this into 8 pieces. They don't have to be exact, but we'll just do our best. Before I do the next step on that, I wanna check on our eggnog. I turned this really, really low so we wouldn't burn it / scald it when we're not paying attention to it. This still has a little bit to go, so I'm just gonna let this continue to keep warming up as we shape our dough into logs. So she said that we are going to, not logs, into, what's the word? Square shape. Because we're gonna roll these into logs. I may have put a little too much water in this dough because it does feel a little wet, so I hope this works well. So I'm just going to press this into a little log shape, get this in the fridge. So there's one. We lost power at 3 a.m. last night when I was up feeding baby A, and Josh so graciously got up. Well, so Josh does the night feedings from 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. and then I take over at 3 a.m. until morning time. And we experienced our first cluster feeding last night. So after 3 a.m. on, baby was hungry every hour on the hour. So that was a fun experience. That's our septic alarm. So our septic is, we need to have it inspected because there's an alarm when it gets too full. And that's been going off for the last couple days, but it's Christmas, so we're not gonna be able to get anyone out for a little bit. So we're just having to be a little conservative. Yesterday we had a plumber out because our washer machine overflowed and drained into the basement. I went down to the basement the other day and it was raining down there because the washer machine had overflowed because the pipes were clogged. And so we got that fixed yesterday. And then last night at 3 a.m. when we were starting to deal with that cluster feeding, the power went out, and because it's so cold, we didn't want our house to get too cold so that we don't deal with freezing pipes as well. So Josh got up and he took care of making a fire. That's one beautiful thing about this house is we have a wood burning fireplace. So from 3 a.m. to 7, we had no power, so we had no heat, except for the fact that we did have heat because we had a fire going that whole time, so that was really nice. And so I was able to sit by the fire and feed baby Acre while he was having his first cluster feeding. So every hour on the hour last night after 3 a.m., baby was hungry and I was happy to oblige to feed him. It was really fun to get our cuddles in this morning. So now he's hanging out with his dad. Well, I get to spend a little bit of time in the kitchen doing some cooking for the first time since baby arrived, which I'm certainly enjoying hanging out with you in the kitchen. So we only have one more of these to do. Gonna get these in the fridge as soon as possible. We want this butter getting nice and cold again so that we have a nice flaky pastry. I can tell, I think I put a little bit too much water in this pastry, but it is what it is. This is my first time making this recipe all by myself and only my second time ever making it. So we're gonna give ourselves grace. If it doesn't turn out perfectly, that'll be okay. In the fridge. So this is ready for the next step. So before we make our almond paste filling, we are going to go ahead and get the eggs into our eggnog. So this is nice and warm. I don't know the exact temperature, but I'm happy with it. I'm gonna turn this off for just a minute so it doesn't continue to heat. I'm gonna take some of our milk mixture, and while I'm stirring the egg mixture, I'm gonna temper these eggs, which just means we're slowly bringing up these egg yolks in temperature so we don't scramble them. The last thing we wanna do is have scrambled eggs in our eggnog. That would be pretty unpleasant. I'm gonna show you one trick just in case we get any thickness to the eggs to make sure we have a nice smooth eggnog to enjoy for the holiday. We're gonna do this until this full bowl is full. All right, now what we're gonna do is take our tempered eggs and we're gonna pour it into our pot of warm milk. And we're gonna turn this milk into eggnog. The last thing we're gonna add to our eggnog is a good splash of vanilla. Now is the fun part. We get to taste test our creation. I am not gonna heat this up anymore. This feels like it's a good temperature to me. But if you wanna make sure your eggs are pasteurized, then make sure you heat this up to 160 degrees. You wanna be careful not to overheat it because it's gonna get thicker and thicker. Eggnog is it's the same process basically as making a custard, except there is no flour in it. And so the more you heat it, the more you're gonna thicken it. So we're gonna get a taste test. Oh, I'm spilling. Oh my goodness. That is so good. Now, you could use maple syrup, honey. You could use whatever kind of sweetener you want. I'm just cleaning up my mess here because I try to clean as I go. That is absolutely delicious. This is, I would say, a little bit on the sweet side, but it's perfect if you're going to use it as a coffee creamer, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to basically make myself a little eggnog latte. Taste complete. Oh, here, Josh. Josh is in here going to get some more coffee, so I'm going to pass this on to you. There you go.
Thanks, honey.
You're welcome. Do you want some eggnog in it?
Probably not.
Okay. Josh likes black coffee. I like a little bit of something in it. So we're gonna just put a little bit of our eggnog in here. Josh is gonna go check on the chickens for me. Make sure they have water. I bought them a heated waterer last night because I didn't want their water to freeze in these freezing temperatures we have. But because it's so cold and we lost power last night, I'm sure the heated waterer froze. So we're not sure if the heated waterer can keep or can thaw frozen water. It probably can keep water from freezing, but we don't know if once the water freezes, it can remelt it again. So he's a good chicken daddy and he does all the chicken chores for me. In the coffee, this is the perfect level of sweetness. So let me show you how we're gonna make this really, really smooth after it cools. This is so good. So what we're gonna do is pour our eggnog into our jars. Because we added the eggs and sugar, it's probably gonna take more than just the half gallon. And I like to strain it just to get any of the bits out. See if I can do this without making a mess. Nope, darn it, okay. Let's do plan B. I'm gonna pour the last bit in my coffee if I can without making a mess. Not really. So it doesn't look like I scrambled any eggs. If I had scrambled some eggs, you would see that in here. So you can come back from that if it's not too bad. But you can see all this nutmeg and cinnamon we got out. There's still plenty of flavor in here with cinnamon and nutmeg, but it's gonna make it just a little bit of a smoother texture. I'm just gonna use some reused canning lids to put on our eggnog. So with that double recipe, basically a half gallon and you get a pint. I'm gonna keep this for ourselves and we're gonna enjoy this. This I'm going to bring to Christmas for other people to enjoy. And you can enjoy this however you like to enjoy your eggnog. If you like it just like straight up with a little bit of fresh nutmeg on it, if you like to spike it, if you wanna put it in your coffee, all good options. This doesn't taste anything like store-bought eggnog. If you don't like store-bought eggnog, try making it homemade. It is a completely different beverage. So we're gonna let that cool in there. I made a mess. Thankfully, my eggnog didn't spill on the floor, so my floor isn't gonna get super sticky. I'm gonna wipe this up. We are going to quickly rinse out this pot while it's still warm so that it's easy to clean. If I let this cool, the sugar, it'll be harder to clean. And I'm gonna put the green beans in here and we'll just use this same pot to cook our green beans tonight so I don't have to dirty up another dish. And it's super easy to get up any of that sugar, cinnamon or anything while it's still warm. Basically just need to rinse it out, and we have ourselves a clean pot again. Now that we have our vegetable going for dinner, we are going to make the almond paste for the bonnet. This is super easy according to this recipe. I gotta get this plugged in. And we can just do it right in the food processor that we made the filling or the pastry in, so we don't have to dirty another thing. I'm excited to use this almond flour because I've had it for a while, and almond flour is one of those things that doesn't last forever. You wanna try to use it up because it is a nut and it can go rancid. So I'm excited to go ahead and use some of this today. So for the almond paste, we need to add 2 cups of almond flour. One. We're gonna add our 2 egg whites, 1 cup of powdered sugar, a ½ teaspoon of almond extract. So that's the almond paste mixture. So we're gonna mix this together. I can't get my food processor to turn on. So Josh is gonna come in and see if he can figure it out for me. Crisis averted. I had this on backwards. So now we are going to mix that up. And that is, my friend, let's see if I can open this one-handed, our almond paste. So we just saved ourselves almost $17, which is incredible. So now what we need to do is make the almond filling using the almond paste. When I write this recipe up, I'm going to just put everything together so that it's not really 2 different components, it'll just be 1 component, because you're gonna see that all we need to do now is add kind of more of some of the same ingredients. So we're gonna add 2 eggs. And these are gonna be full eggs this time instead of egg whites. So you probably could just add everything at one time, but this is the way that the recipe is written currently. So we're gonna add to that another ½ teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is why you can see that you really don't have to do these in 2 different steps. Then we're gonna add 1½ cups of white sugar this time, not powdered sugar. It might seem like a lot of sugar. I'm gonna put a little bit more just because that one of those scoops was a little bit light. This is a ½ cup measure. But the pastry itself is not very sweet. And this is not a very sweet recipe. And then we're gonna add a little bit more salt. And that is our filling mixture. So now we're going to blend this up. This is my new food processor. I absolutely love it. It's just taking me a little bit to get used to it because it's opposite of what my other food processor was. When I talked to my mother-in-law this morning, she said you want the consistency of Play-Doh. Well, this is way too sticky. And she said what you do if it's too sticky is you add more almond flour until it becomes the consistency of Play-Doh. I should measure this so that I can tell you how much almond flour I'm adding. So I'm gonna add a ½ cup, and we'll start with that and see if we can get the Play-Doh consistency we're looking for. I think because this is so sticky, it's kind of a little bit challenging for my food processor. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of help by mixing it by hand. But I am gonna add, this is not quite Play-Doh consistency, so I'm gonna add maybe another ½ cup. So that's a total of 3 cups of almond flour. Josh is getting some water behind us.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine. You have to stay hydrated so you can get up and start fires at 4 a.m. in the morning. All right, I don't think this is probably the best for my food processor, so I'm gonna turn this off.
I think it's wobbling out. I think the blade's not all the way
On or something. I think I'm just gonna, this is perfect though, consistency now, so I'll just finish stirring this by hand. Yeah, because this is kind of more like, I mean, it's sticky Play-Doh, but we can form it into logs, which is what we want to be able to do. Josh just built another fire and I'm in here boiling and I have a window open. I am so grateful that we do not have an open floor plan because I can shut that door and I can keep it cool in here and keep it toasty over there. So we now need to form this paste into 8 logs. My mother-in-law said it's easier if you form it into logs before you, or at least get the shape started, just like we did with the pastry. And the logs are supposed to be about, let me look. I have Josh's grandma's handwritten recipe card here. And I'm kind of working between Grandma Ruth's recipe, my mother-in-law's recipe, and then I added extra flour, or almond flour. So I'm kind of making it up as we go along as well. But Grandma Ruth's recipe says that we want to shape our bonquettes into, it just says narrow lengths. It doesn't have an actual shape or length, but they're usually about 12 inches or so. So let's see if I can maybe get this on this parchment paper, and I'm going to divide this paste into 8. We might have made a little bit too much paste because I added that extra cup of flour, but my mother-in-law said that if you make the filling too wet and too sticky, then your almond paste tries to ooze out of your pastry. So I don't want the oozage. I want it to stay in my pastry. So we're making it a little bit thicker than the recipe, or yeah, thicker than the recipe called for. This is gonna be not perfect, but we're gonna get it into roughly 8 equal pieces. Probably be good if my hands were wet. Probably would not stick quite so much, but we're already in it now, so we're just gonna go with it. This is what our logs of almond filling look like. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge. Renee had mentioned that it's easier to work with this if it's cold, which makes sense. So we're gonna get it in here. And I actually put that pastry in the freezer because I put too much moisture in it and I wanted it to firm up a little bit faster. So I'm actually gonna get these out of the freezer now because they feel really cold. And we're gonna start rolling these out. So these I did not make completely even. I can already tell that the shape of these are a little bit uneven. So hopefully I'll be able to match this pastry with my uneven logs as well. Now, anything you see on the counter is just from making this pastry and that almond. So I'm not worried about that because we cleaned before we started. So we're gonna put a little bit of flour on our working surface. And we are going to roll out this pastry that hopefully comes together well. I'm gonna roll this out about the length that I formed those logs into. They seem to be rolling out pretty well. I am worried though that I'm gonna have a little bit of splitting with the pastry when it cooks, and my filling's gonna ooze out a little bit. So we're gonna put that one aside. I'm gonna roll another one out. I'm gonna try to get all these rolled out now, and I'll fill them all at the same time while we let that filling mixture harden. So you can see it's cracking just a little bit, so that makes me a little worried, but we're just gonna go with it. This is what we made, so this is what we have to work with. Here's another one. They seem to be coming out okay. This feels like the start of a tradition because, you know, this was something that Grandma Ruth made and Josh's mom's mom made, Grandma Sharon, and now Renee makes it, my mother-in-law. And we still go to our in-laws and my parents for Christmas. We do one Christmas Eve with one and Christmas Day with the other, and then we try to make sure we do all that. But at some point, we probably will start celebrating Christmas at our house, and then I want to make sure that we have bonquette so that baby A can enjoy bonquette as well, and he can grow up enjoying it just like Josh did, and now I have learned to love it. It reminds me of one of those desserts, honestly, that they would make on like Great British Bake Off or something, because it's not an American style dessert. Almond paste is definitely not something that, you know, us Americans cook with very often, but it is, and if I was watching Great British Bake Off, seeing them make this, I might think that looks kind of bland and not super tasty, but let me tell you, this little dessert packs a punch, and it is so good, and I'm excited to hopefully learn how to make it properly. My mother-in-law just sent me pictures of her bonquette. I don't think mine is gonna look like hers. Let me show you what hers look like. They are perfectly round and rolled and absolutely stunning. That is what we are going for. So we're getting close to needing to bake them. So before I finish rolling out all that pastry, we're gonna set the timer. We're gonna set the oven for 400 degrees. Her pastries look like she worked her dough a little bit more than I did, which probably is a good thing that she did that, because I am worried that because of this cracking that we're seeing a little bit of, that we're gonna have some oozing of the filling. My thinking was that I want to work it like I would pie pastry, but pie pastry you don't really worry if you have cracking a little bit in the dough, because you're putting filling over the top, or it's on the top crust and it doesn't really matter. But with something like this, you're trying to keep the filling on the inside, so you probably can get away and should work the dough a little bit more than I did. But only time will tell how well we are doing on this. We have our 8 pastries rolled out. We are now going to stuff them. I'm gonna mix up a little bit of an egg wash to help seal these bonquettes, and we are going to put it on the top. So here is one of our pieces of pastry. Now that this is cool, that was really easy to pick up. We're going to put our almond paste right on the inside, and that fits basically perfectly. Looks like she folded the pastry up. I cannot find my pastry brush anywhere, which is frustrating because I know I own one. And so I'm just going to use this fork, put a little bit of egg wash here so that when I roll it up, I can get a good seal on this part here. You know, this is looking pretty good. And there's our first bonquette. Yeah, I would definitely say refrigerate your almond paste. Even for, I probably only refrigerated it for 10 minutes while I was rolling out the pastry. And that's all it took, so that it's a lot easier to handle. Once I got the hang of this, I decided to do assembly line style just to speed it up just a little bit, because I want to get to making those gingerbread cookie or chewy ginger cookies. And so we're going to get these in the oven as quickly as we can. I did already egg wash each side, put the filling in, and now I'm just rolling them up. Just like so. I can tell the pastry is starting to warm up. So I want to work quick. You definitely want to make sure you don't dilly-dally at this point, because you want to make sure your pastry stays nice and cool. That's going to give you a flakier layers. I did have to transfer them to a larger baking dish because I wasn't going to fit all of the bonquette on that smaller baking pan that I had. And I want to bake them all at one time. So now I'm going to egg wash the top of all of these. I have to say I am pretty proud of how these are looking so far. The real test is when they come out of the oven. But for now, I'm feeling pretty confident. I need to put some vent holes on the top. I think they're kind of cute, actually. We are going to pop these in this 400 degree preheated oven for Grandma's Ruth's recipe. Says only 25 to 30 minutes. Hey Siri, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
Awesome. Huge accomplishment here. Okay, we're gonna do a little reset on the kitchen here so we can get ready to make those cookies. We are making some serious progress. We have the eggnog done, the bonquette in the oven, which feels like a huge accomplishment and a check off the list. These are some of our favorite cookies. They're chewy molasses ginger cookies, and we are going to make them with Christmas M&Ms. I had all these plans, friends, all these plans to do all these very elaborate candies and cookies, and I just did not expect the birth to go the way it was. The birth itself and delivery, beautiful. Had, I would say, a positive experience. If you want to watch that, you can go hear that story. But the healing from it and going back to the hospital, that was a whole nother thing. And so this year, we're just giving ourselves grace and we're doing easy things. And I did have Josh, though, buy all the ingredients for all the things. And what I've decided is we're still gonna make some of those really fancy desserts, candies. We've got divinity I wanna make, different types of homemade marshmallows, and different hard candies and toffees and caramels and all those things. But I thought, you know what? We don't need to worry and grieve the fact that we're not gonna do it at Christmas. We're gonna go ahead and make all those recipes at Valentine's Day. So we're not missing out, we're just postponing. So in here, for our molasses cookies, we need more eggs, but I'm gonna use that one whole egg that we cracked earlier, butter, and we cracked the yolk, so we use that up. But one thing that I don't want to use at Valentine's Day are these Christmas M&Ms. And I like to put chocolate chips in our ginger molasses cookies. So instead of putting chocolate chips, we're gonna put M&Ms because it's Christmas and we can. I did just pop this butter in the microwave for about 15 seconds so that I would be able to cream it together with the sugar. Then we're gonna add 1 cup of white sugar. And I am out of brown sugar, it looks like, almost. We need 1 cup of brown sugar, but it looks like I only have a half cup, but that's okay. I'm gonna top this shy half cup with sugar. We're gonna add that. See if I have a half cup here. Nope. I'm gonna go get another half cup of sugar. So I am trying to do stairs as little as possible right now, and I need to go fill this up with sugar. I could ask Josh to go fill this up with sugar, and he absolutely would for me, but we need to go do some shopping, Christmas shopping down in the pantry. So I'm gonna go down there, we're gonna fill that up. I don't wanna go down there again later today if possible, so I'm bringing my list of people I need to shop for down in the pantry, and we're gonna get our groceries in here. I might go down there, fill our basket, and then have Josh carry it up. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get 1 more basket because I have 8 people I'm shopping for, which is gonna be a lot of jars. And I am trying to do what the doctor says, keep it easy and not carry anything heavier than my baby. My baby is only 6.5-ish pounds. And so for 8 people, a lot of jars, that's gonna be more than that. So I am hearing you. I know that what you would be telling me, so I'm listening to your advice in advance. So let's go shop. Let's go do some Christmas shopping for these 8 people. I also need to see if I have bags, Christmas bags, that I can put all these gifts in. Well, I'll show you when we get down there. You can probably hear the furnace in the background. I apologize for that, but like I was saying earlier, because of this snowstorm, I don't want to send Josh or anybody, ice storm, it's an ice storm, not a snowstorm, to the store to get Christmas bags. So I'm going to search through here and see if I can find 8 Christmas bags that I can put some of these gifts in. If I can't find 8 Christmas bags, I'm going to use Valentine's Day bags. Those are gold and pretty and hearts. We can pretend those are Christmas bags, so we have 3. But if I need to use a birthday bag or some other bag, I don't think my family's gonna mind. So we'll use this black one, because I really do not think I have enough. I reuse all bags that I get, so I'm gonna have enough bags in here. It's just a matter of if I have enough Christmas. Let me count how many I have. We can use this purple one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 1 more. We'll use this one. This is actually from a boutique that my mother-in-law went to and bought me a baby gift, and it's pretty. So we didn't have to use any baby shower gift bags or birthday gift bags. So I think that'll be okay. I think people won't mind. Things are a little out of place down here right now because we had our washer machine, like I was saying, overflow, and because of that, it overflowed and all the water drained down into our basement. That's another thing. Josh has a fan going up into the insulation to dry the insulation out. So my sugar and big flour containers are over here right now because they were actually getting rained on. So a really awesome thing to note is these big totes with these Gamma Seal lids protected the sugar and flour, which is really, really awesome that we didn't lose this sugar and flour because they were in these nice solid plastic totes. So for my brother and dad, I'm gonna give them some cowboy candy, and I'm gonna give them the 2021. I have 2021 and 2022 cowboy candy. This stuff is twice as hot, the one I'm giving them, and my dad and brother like hot, so they're each gonna get one of these. Everybody is gonna get a jam and or a jelly. So I'm just going through and trying to think which flavor people are gonna like the best and give them the flavor they like the best. Probably everyone's favorite is gonna be strawberry. I'm gonna grab some blueberry too, just to make sure we use these up. Timer went off, so we need to come check on our bonnet. And I didn't think, oh, that is not quite done. Almost. I'm gonna give it another 4 minutes. So what I'm gonna do, instead of going back downstairs for those 4 minutes, I'm gonna sit down, drink the rest of my coffee, because I haven't finished my latte yet. Feels good. Feels good that we're getting some Christmas baking done. I think I should have taken these out earlier because in that few minutes they were in there. Oh, okay. Don't do that, Becky. Take them out, set them down. We had some explosion, so I think I should have probably taken them out before. I'm gonna let this bonnet cool here completely, and we're gonna head back downstairs and finish shopping our shelves. We got everything packed up. That took me a while. I hope people are excited for what they're getting. I've got a couple more things upstairs I'm going to add to different people's gifts, and I'll show you when we get up there. I'm going to bring this upstairs and ask Josh if he will be willing to come and carry this up for me. I'm also adding some of these homemade candles to some of the gifts, and then my father-in-law does not like vinegary based hot sauces, so these are all some peppers from the garden that I dehydrated, and he loves spicy pepper flakes. Him and I both enjoy spicy. We're the only ones on Josh's side of the family that really like spicy. So I made these for him, so I'm gonna add that to his gift. And then to my brother's gift, I'm gonna put a note on the bag. They're gonna be kind of like joint gifts for spouses, but clearly more like the candle might be more for my sister or sister-in-law, and pepper flakes are more for my stepfather-in-law, or the hot sauce is more for my brother than my sister-in-law. And then I will make notes on which bag goes to which, and I still have to add that really hot fermented ghost pepper sauce, and I'll put a note so we don't forget, because that's going to stay in the fridge until I pack it up. So I'm excited for Christmas to give people those gifts. We don't really do much gift giving anymore on either side of the family because we're all adults. Maybe now that there are more grandbabies involved, we might start doing some more gift exchange type things for the grandkids. But us adults, we really don't do much anymore. We used to do the draw names and things, but I want to give some gifts of homemade stuff, and I hope that they like what they got. So I just added that extra half cup of sugar that I had to go downstairs for, and I need to add a half a cup of molasses next to these cookies. And to create brown sugar is just cane sugar and molasses. So I'm just gonna add an extra little to make up for that half cup, or that half cup of brown sugar that I didn't have. And you know why they have the saying, as slow as molasses. This is gonna take me a while to get a half cup. That's my half cup, and that is my little bit extra. We're gonna add 2 eggs, the one I broke earlier, and one more. I'm gonna scrape the sides down. I added vanilla. Now we're gonna add 4.5 cups of flour. This is why I can't double this recipe, because my KitchenAid is not big enough to put 8 cups of flour plus 4 cups of sugar. So one recipe it is. This makes a lot of cookies. I think that was 4. That was 4 cups, so that's the half cup there. Now we're gonna add 4 teaspoons of baking soda. I need to go through and just sift all of my baking soda that's in here, so I don't have to do this every time, because I really don't like the feel of baking soda in my hand. So that's our 4 teaspoons right there. I'm gonna mix that in just a little bit to the flour. Now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. I realized I am out of ginger powder, and it's kind of hard to make ginger cookies without ginger. But what I do have is some home freeze-dried ginger pieces, and I've been meaning to powder these for quite some time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these blended up into a powder. So I freeze-dried these this summer. This was that homegrown ginger that we grew together. I didn't end up showing that. So this is how much ginger we got. You can see they're just kind of like in little pellets. It smells so good. So we're just gonna powder this. So to powder it, you don't have to do anything fancy. Just put it into a blender and blend it. Now we have homemade ginger powder. It smells incredible. What I would not recommend doing is smelling this right after you're done blending it and inhaling it, because whew, that is some strong stuff. I don't want to lose a bunch of that. You know what I could have done easier than this? I could have just washed my canning funnel, but oh well, we've invested too much time into this now. That worked perfect. We are officially back in business, that we have our ginger powder made up. All right, so what we need next is 1.5 tablespoons of ground ginger, 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. I don't know why I wrote it that way, because that's 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. So I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon in there. And then we need 1 teaspoon clove. That smells so good. These are very heavily spiced ginger cookies, which is what you want in a ginger cookie. And I have never seen ginger cookies that put chocolate chips in it. I always put chocolate chips in my ginger cookies, but we're gonna use M&Ms today. So we're gonna mix this up. I'm gonna pour 3/4 of this bag in here. This is a 10-ounce bag. All right, that's it. I don't wanna break those up. I probably should have waited maybe 30 seconds more before adding those M&Ms, because M&Ms are breaking. I think I should not have turned it up a little bit higher. I've never added M&Ms to cookies before, I don't think. Okay, we're gonna call that good, because I don't wanna break any more of them. The lights keep flickering. Hopefully we don't lose power again while we're baking the cookies. I guess if we do, it'll be an adventure and we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna get my cookie scoop out. I'm gonna wipe this down. I normally roll these cookies in sugar. Normally that's what I do, but I'm not gonna do that because we're using the M&Ms. And the reason I saved some of these M&Ms, let me show you. We're gonna put them in a bowl. I'll show you in just a second, but I wanna clean this mess up. I'm gonna clean all these. We know that we need to bake the cookies for 8 to 10 minutes, and I already have the oven preheated. I reduced the temperature to 350 earlier so that I didn't have to worry about that now. So these cookies do spread a little bit, so I need to give them some space. I'm gonna use my cookie scoop so they bake evenly. But from what I've seen, when you make cookies with M&Ms, is they get buried in the cookie, so you can't really see them that well. Do you see how they're kind of buried? So you take your M&Ms and you push them on the outside so that they show up nicely. So in the first batch go, I do want to note that I was not responsible to make anything for all the 3 Christmases we're going to. So this was just for fun. No one knows I'm bringing this bonnet, the eggnog, and the cookies. But I thought it would be super special to bring this because Josh's grandma no longer makes it, and we haven't had it with Josh's dad in a while. So I thought that it would be kind of like a Christmas gift for Josh's dad, because I doubt he has eaten bonnet in any length of time. So I'm going to continue to scoop out all those cookies. I might not, well, we'll just see how many cookies we end up. I'm thinking I might freeze some of the cookie dough, and I won't bring all the cookies because between the bonnet, we might not need all these ginger cookies tomorrow as well, because I think there's 16 of us, so it's kind of a lot. Plus, there'll be cinnamon rolls. Normally, I'm responsible for making cinnamon rolls, but they didn't ask me. My sister-in-law is going to make cinnamon rolls this year, and I'm kind of okay with that. Sometimes it's nice to mix it up and make something different. And we made cinnamon rolls together, you and I, for Thanksgiving. And so I don't feel the need to make cinnamon rolls again this year right now. Josh and I have Christmas Day actually to ourselves, so we had Thanksgiving to ourselves just with how the different family events fell. And because our family, both Josh's side of the family and my side of the family, we don't really worry about having to celebrate on the day that the actual holiday is. It's more about what day we can get everybody together. That's more important to us. So because of that, this year we had Thanksgiving to ourselves, and we are having Christmas to ourselves. So it's kind of special that we're going to be a family of 3 and have Christmas Day to ourselves. I don't have any plans to do any cooking. I was thinking I might cook up one of those freezer meal lasagnas because we aren't going to have anybody bring us dinner, of course, on Christmas Day. And so I thought that maybe a lasagna for Christmas would be good. And I don't know what side I could make. Maybe, well, I don't know. Maybe I won't want to do any cooking, and it'll be nice just to relax and let my previous efforts pay off. My timer just went off, but it didn't ring for, oh, those look perfect. Okay, so 9 minutes is key, and they're so cute. I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna pound these on the counter. Hopefully baby A doesn't wake up. Now we're gonna put, I've got 2 more sheets here. I need to get them in before the oven cools down too much. And 9 minutes was perfect, so I'm gonna have them cook for 4 minutes, and then we will rotate them. This sheet of cookies here, I'm gonna put that cookie dough in the freezer, because I think between this cookie sheet that I baked up here and the cookies that I have in the oven, that will be plenty of cookies for Christmas. I think this one 10-ounce bag of M&Ms was actually the perfect amount of M&Ms. I think oh, that's my timer. When we got back from the hospital, we had baked up some of those oatmeal cookies, and I have to say that felt so comforting and good to have that cookie dough in the freezer that we could just bake up. Actually, Josh baked them up, and it was really easy for him. And so I do want to work on trying to always have some cookie dough just so that we can enjoy a home-cooked cookie whenever we want. So I am happy to be putting, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cookies. So let me bring Josh in to do a taste test on that bonnet and our cookies so that we can see how well we did today. Perfect timing. I was just cleaning the counters. I'm gonna tap these on the counter too. I don't know what it does to the cookies, it like flattens them, but I've just found that you get a better cookie when you pound them on the counter. These are so incredibly adorable. I'm just so glad I decided to put the M&Ms in there. See these pretty flowers? These are from my sister-in-law. Purple is one of my favorite colors. I think those flowers, they remind me of my wedding flowers actually. Our wedding flowers were more maroon and oranges. kind of like fall colors, but like this one right here. I'm excited to grow flowers, hopefully this year in the garden. I just ran downstairs to get some rice. I should have grabbed it when I was down there for dinner. I'm gonna cook it in the Instant Pot. I'm a little out of breath, which is kind of embarrassing, but that's okay. It smells incredible in here though. That's what I wanted to tell you. After going downstairs and coming back up in here and smelling, oh my goodness. You can smell this, the cinnamon, the ginger. It smells so good. So I'm just gonna cook my rice in the Instant Pot to make it easy. And we are basically done in the kitchen. All I have to do is pop. I always have to look up rice. Let me see. Let's see. 3 minutes, that's right, because that was rice was the last thing I cooked in the Instant Pot, so I'm gonna let that go. So the only other thing I need to do in the kitchen today is heat up these green beans and pop the meatballs in the oven. These take about 20-30 minutes. They're already cooked fully through. They're still a little frozen, so that's the biggest thing, is they just need to thaw and warm through. I just called Josh in here to do a taste test of our bonnet to see if it lives up to what he remembers his grandma and his mom making. And I'm excited for him to try it. I'm gonna try it too, because I like.
Ooh, this smells really good.
Does it smell good?
Oh, yeah.
I just told them that when I went downstairs and came back up, how good it smells.
You want me to have one of these on the counter?
Yeah, you can have one of those cookies. So Josh right now is about to eat a ginger M&M cookie. You see I put the M&Ms in it.
Very pretty.
I think they're really pretty.
Well placed M&Ms.
Yeah, so I mixed the M&Ms into the cookie dough, and then I have seen online that if you only mix them in, they kind of get hidden.
Oh yeah.
So you have to place them on top too.
That's really good.
Is it really good?
This is one of my favorite cookies.
Which is kind of funny because it's kind of
It's a weird cookie.
it's like an old person cookie, but it's really good.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, we're old.
Maybe for video.
So this is where it oozed out a little bit. That's a little bit of our almond paste, but you can see the paste on the inside and the pastry on the outside. Nice and golden and crispy on the bottom. Smells good.
Well, that's good water.
It's cold water.
That's good. Nice and flaky too. Not too sweet. Not gritty or grainy.
That's good.
Really, really good. Nice work, hon.
Perfect amount of almond flavor. Because almond can be way overpowering. I'd say I did a pretty darn good job for my first time. So Josh offered to go ahead and clean the floors for me because I have been in the kitchen long enough. Today was fun. It felt good to get back in the kitchen. I have the dishwasher completely loaded. I cleaned out my sink, I scrubbed it, I cleaned the counters, and I now have the dishwasher going. All of this is just gonna cool for a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. We are going to be going to Josh's dad's house. We're supposed to be there at 8 in the morning, so that is going to be the first time we have to be, I have to be somewhere, he has to be somewhere early. We've had the only thing I've had to do is a few doctor's appointments, and I've tried to schedule those after noon. So it's gonna be fun to hang out with the family tomorrow. It'll be the first time in quite some time we've done anything other than either be in the hospital or be at home. So it'll feel good to be out and about just a little bit, or not out and about, but with family. So Josh is willing to clean the floors for me, and I'm gonna go take over baby duty. I really enjoyed being in the kitchen with you, and I'm really excited now to go cuddle my baby. I hope you enjoyed these recipes and hanging out with me. I was planning to put those gifts together. I probably should put those gifts together tonight, but I know baby A is gonna wake me up at 6 a.m. this next morning for one of his feedings. So I will go ahead and make up those gifts in the morning, and I just need to sit down. It's time. I can feel my body is telling me, you did a good job in the kitchen, but it's time to go cuddle your baby. So we're gonna go cuddle. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you are having a beautiful holiday season, however you celebrate this time of year. You are someone that is super special to me, and I don't take it for granted that you take time out of your day to spend time with me. And I just wanna say thank you for being you, and thank you for being here. So These recipes will be linked down in the description box. If you want to watch more of my videos, I will put some here you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.